Rolling.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Catch the Sky podcast. We will be discussing another season of The Office in today's episode, specifically Season 7.
Oh, it is on like Genghis Khan wearing Sean John and Bhutan.
That's Andy, right?
It is Andy. See, it's good to hear from you again. How are you, buddy?
I'm fantastic. How about you?
Out of groovy sight. It's nice to have a little distraction from all the craziness that is the world, and The Office just does so much for us.
Thank you, everybody out there that has tuned in and has been joining us over the past few weeks or months or however long you've been listening. We appreciate you being here, and a shout out to all our new listeners out there. Thank you for joining us. If you'd like to interact with us, you may do so on Twitter at CTS Terry, or on Instagram and Facebook by searching for the Catch the Sky podcast. So we have a lot to get into in Season 7. There is just so much. Doesn't seem to stop.
There's really a lot going on. I was never a big fan of Season 7. I said last season that after Jim and Pam's wedding, I stopped watching. Like, that was it. And then I restarted it from the beginning. So getting into Season 7, it is delightful. I mean, salt of the earth this season. It really is. Some of the narratives that we see, Dwight bought himself a building. Land was important, so he took over.
Specifically, the building that they work in.
Yes.
Which leads to all sorts of hijinks, as you can imagine.
It again, Dwight is the unsung hero. He is just so innovative. He has so many side hustles, and he's the best salesman. He's the best. He's the best at making money. He will always be okay.
I do like that he does put the little cafe in at the bottom. It is a nice touch, and we do see the office workers using it, even if it is a little overpriced.
Some good conversations about China to be had there.
That's right. That's right. And what's interesting about China specifically is I think at this point they've updated the Dunder Mifflin mission statement to point out the fact that Chinese-made products are of poor quality. That wasn't originally in the statement, and it was added over the course of the seasons.
I think Joe was not happy with the quality of printers as season 6 ends.
Oh, she knew that she sold shitty printers. She just was worried about whether or not they would still make a Barbie after her.
It's an innocuous point about China. I really have nothing there. So I'm going to just go. I'm going to say we jump into the major narrative that gets my this season 7 is really all about Holly and Michael. It isn't about Dwight's building, but kudos to Dwight for owning the building and doing what he does there.
So Holly returns after Toby is sent to jury duty, specifically on the Scranton Strangler case.
Do I have a note here that says you think Toby is the Scranton Strangler?
Well, there's a possibility. There's theories out there on the internet. For example, he is the only one that isn't in the office the morning that they pursue him. Later on, he expresses a lot of guilt over sentencing the guy to death, right?
Yes. But can you trust an animal rapist like Toby?
Jesus Christ. Again, the offensive shit that Michael says. It's just over the line. And Toby is just so defeated at this point. We see a scene in Threat Level Midnight where he gets his head blown off. The most expensive shot in the entire movie.
It was worth it.
And speaking of Threat Level Midnight, we finally get to see it in action in one of our favorite episodes this season, right?
It is far and away one of my favorite moments. So I do jump into, I used to sneak into season 7 just to watch that one. So my favorite part of Threat Level Midnight is Oscar speed skating. Because I am a huge speed skating fan for Winter Olympics. That's my favorite sport to watch, along with curling. I think those are my 2 favorite sports, Winter Olympics. I don't know what yours are, but just to see Oscar move and Golden Face and Michael Scarn shoot it out on the ice.
What I love is that they shoot the final scene during a high school hockey game, and Michael gets the team disqualified. Undefeated season.
What I love about that is Michael finally realizes who he is, and he almost becomes comfortable with who he is in that moment. Like, this is ridiculous. This is stupid. I'm not an artist. And in a way he is, but he's defeated, but he realizes the hilarity of it all. So I think is a good self-awareness moment for Michael Scott, and as he's growing with Holly.
Yeah, absolutely. And Holly returns in the classy Christmas episode, which is a 2-part episode, but we can just lump it into one for all intents and purposes.
I was a big fan of the snowball fight. I don't know about you.
I think that's honestly what makes the episode. I love that it's called The Classy Christmas, but Jim and Dwight have just completely devolved into children over the course of this episode.
And usually Jim is ahead of the game on Dwight, and this is the one time where we see Dwight finally giving in here. And
the whole thing starts with the first snowfall of the year, and Jim points this out, and Dwight makes fun of him, saying that it's barely a dusting. So to prove his point, Jim goes and makes a snowball, brings it back in, throws it at Dwight.
What a dick.
This opens up Pandora's box. Dwight assaults him outside by hiding inside of a snowman.
I think his penis was frozen?
You're right. And then he uses the little catapult out of the gift box and launches it at Jim. Jim is terrified to the point that he uses a lacrosse stick to rifle a snowball at Dwight and completely misses, shatters a window. This leads to everybody in the office being absolutely frozen for the rest of the party because they have to board it up with a piece of cardboard. They couldn't find a piece of plywood or anything. Bob Vance didn't have anything laying around.
Right. There's something down in the warehouse. That's they can do.
Yeah.
I'm just a big fan that Dwight has a wig. Dwight has a wig for everybody in the office, and we see him in those characters.
Oh, that's right. Because he disguises himself as Pam to throw a snowball at him, too.
Does an amazing job.
Oh, my God.
Kudos to Dwight again, because this is his comeback.
Yeah, but it is in that episode that we see Holly officially return to replace Toby while he is on jury duty.
No, with Michael and Holly returning, it eventually leads them to, she gives up on her long distance relationship with AJ. Her and Michael start back up, and it leads to me, the moment of season 7 is Michael's proposal.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the proposal is enormous. So over the course of just a couple of episodes, they obviously begin to date and fall in love. And Michael decides that he's ready to marry her.
With the help of everyone, because she's perfect for him.
Yeah, his first idea to set the parking lot on fire probably wasn't the best idea. But he does almost set the office on fire.
Almost set the office on fire.
Yeah, there's no reason for them to have that many candles in a paper company.
Oh, man. I don't know how Dwight approved this as the building manager.
Right.
So the proposal, I would estimate, 500 candles that they lit?
Probably, something like that. And they go through a gauntlet of all of their coworkers. And a couple of them step out to ask Holly to marry them, to which she replies no. And then they enter a gigantic room full of candles, the annex. And it's at that point, right when Michael's about to ask her, that the sprinkler system goes off.
A la Jim Pam's proposal in the rain at the gas station. But yeah.
I didn't even make that connection until you pointed that out. It is a very Michael moment, though, right? Everything seems perfect, and then it all falls apart. But since he has finally found happiness, this moment is not going to fall apart on him no matter what happens. And everybody rushes in to congratulate him. And you can see that for the first time, he's really happy.
I cried sitting on my recliner here in the living room. And my eyes welled up and I shed tears because it was that meaningful for me. I was really happy that Michael found happiness.
And isn't it funny how we've gone from season 1, this guy that we hated, to this?
How can anyone hate him? So and there's so much calamities, which is actually part of one of my favorite episodes is sex ed. and it ties together because Michael has been searching for love, and in this episode he discovers he might have herpes, so he has to go through and visit every woman he's ever dated or hooked up with in this show. And starts it off with Donna on the phone, and he says that he has a sexually transmitted disease for which there's no known cure. H I R P E. Oh my God. And then they find some old lady in the park, and they think it's Helene. And Dwight has to like muscle her out. But I love this episode because I personally relate to this as someone who romanticizes relationships. In addition, I've had to do what Michael did. And I had to go back to 4 different partners within a couple of months time span. This was back when I was a swinging bachelor, right? And have to have these hard conversations. And if I don't know if you've ever had to do this, T, but it is not easy to be like, hey, look, I think I possibly exposed you to something.
I have not.
And if this actually, we touched on this in the demo episode, I think, in our very first episode of the demo episode. Because the girl and I got tested, and once we both found out we were both negative, we were like, well, let's game on. Let's not only hook up, but let's double down on what we did in the bed. And we went all the way and did everything because she was like, you're clean, I'm clean. Let's go for it.
Well, there you go.
Yes. Fantastic. All right. So that's sex ed for me, and I do romanticize. I make a lot out of nothing.
So basically, once you got the clean bill of health, that woman looked at you like Kelly looks at Danny Cordray and was just like, fuck me.
Nice, T. That was nice. We are on fire tonight.
That's right. Danny Cordray is a rival paper salesman from Osprey.
He's also a cameo candidate.
That's right. That's right. Some people who have seen the season premiere of The Mandalorian might recognize him as a character on that show.
You told me Boba Fett, right?
Well, he's still Boba Fett's armor. I won't spoil any more than that.
Yes, because people are transitioning.
but anyway,
Omar gets killed at the end of The Wire.
Oh my God, Jesus!
Spoiled.
If anybody, holy shit! I really hope you didn't spoil that. If you told me that prior to me finishing The Wire, I probably would have kicked your ass. So anyway, Michael gets called in to assist Jim and Dwight on a big sale because Danny Cordray is there, and Danny ends up stealing the client from them. So in order to flip the script, Michael wants to steal Danny from Osprey. At first, he just wants to steal their technique. So they set up this whole sting operation and make a fake company, put Meredith in charge, and bring in Danny for a sale. Everything goes to hell.
This is one of the reasons why we just need to have a deep dive on Meredith as a character.
So they basically set up a sting operation. They're right on the other side of the wall with their TVs and everything. Dwight, being the building manager, or building owner rather, is able to set this whole thing up. And Meredith just tries to fuck the guy. They keep trying to get her to stop by phoning into the room, sending in Oscar to get her to stop. And they end up getting caught. And Michael ends up convincing him to work for them.
Yeah.
So in another act of brilliance, Michael pulls off a nice move.
He does. This was a great idea, start to finish. And it's one of those applaudable moments. So,
even though they still have Todd Packer.
Yes. Yes.
And Danny actually does not make any more appearances. I think there's a deleted scene where he accepts his Dundie Award for Hottest in the Office, which Ryan is not a huge fan of. And the only other thing I really had on Danny is that his name is pretty much a direct copy of the line producer for the show. His name is Randy Cordray.
Right.
Yeah, that's about it.
It also digs into Pam and Danny dating briefly, which, again, this relationship will never hold a candle to Jim and Pam's, but the Gabe Erin drama heats up. Like we want Andy to date Erin, but that's not happening. So she's dating the Gabe, and I think that's the viewing party where they're at Gabe's house to watch Glee.
Yeah, and Andy eats like 5 seahorses.
Because Ryan kind of he does, and then but he pukes it up in their bed and then just puts the pillow over it. I just
this episode in particular has some really 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 grade A moments. Dwight taking care of Cece, showing what a good father figure he can be, but he tortures Jim in doing so. Makes him feed him a beer, feed him pizza.
They're always eating pizza. That's all these people eat.
Crust first.
Yeah.
And so you have this side room where all this action's going on. You've got Dwight the baby, Jim, Pam. Michael goes in there to pout at one point. He leaves. Kevin comes in to have pigs in a blanket.
They are fucking Gabe's house up.
Yeah, I don't think Gabe hosts any more parties after that one.
Nor should he. I think he gets sent home briefly, but he still stays on.
Because he ends up working in Scranton Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I think he's down in Tallahassee on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
But it's always still Dunder Mifflin, and that's the part that still confuses me.
No, it is Dunder Mifflin Sabre the whole time.
It's a business idea. I don't know. It's a novel business idea, but it doesn't rival WUPHF.com. See what I just did there?
I did. WUPHF.com. One of the better opening segments is in that episode when the power goes out because Michael had the fan and the power heater on in his office, both at high. Which one has to ask, why does he have both on? The fucking power heater has a fan built into it. But anyway, when it comes back on, the server needs to be logged into and nobody seems to remember the password. So they have to go backwards in time through all their IT guys in order to get an idea of what the password might be.
Fatso 2?
One of those two is the one that set it up. And long story short, it's Big Boobs with a Z. You're actually trying that?
I think it is the idea of a grotesque password for your internet anything. Easy to remember.
Right.
I think we come up with some good, like big boobs, and then I bet people have used that as a result.
Oh, probably. I love this episode because it shows Ryan actually having a good idea that makes everybody $1 for a change.
Right.
So WUPHF.com is basically
all-in-one messaging system. You get an email, you get a fax, you get a text,
That's
you get
right.
a phone call, you get your AOL Instant Messenger, I think was around at that time.
Yeah, they only retired that just a couple of years ago. And so there's a couple people in the office that actually have invested in it because it does seem like a good idea. And I always liked Oscar's idea of having it be like an emergency notification system, but they never built on that throughout the show. That's because they have a buyer from very early on, but that doesn't stop Michael from planning the investor ski trip. He already bought poles.
It's like Kelly buying dresses for weddings that she's never going to attend.
So, yeah.
I do want to say, though, that Kelly's clothing options this entire season, her game completely stepped up big time. And I noticed.
Well, that's because she's a minority executive and the business bitch. She's the business bitch, the diet bitch, the shopping bitch, the etiquette bitch. I love that the etiquette bitch is the last one. Oh, my goodness.
So anyway, she says, that is the biggest penis I have ever seen. And I said, I know. That's why I brought you to the Penis Museum, where tickets are $1,000. Sorry, just had to do that.
We find out that it actually was Kelly's idea, wolf.com, the entire thing. And I don't think she's invested on it. So she doesn't make any of the money off of it. Only Pam, Stanley, Daryl, and Michael, as well as Ryan.
I'm surprised Pam invested because she trusted him because Ryan has a college basketball algorithm and he'll know the outcome of every game. I think that was her wedding gift.
Yeah, right. How'd that work out?
She ended up writing him a check. So, yeah, you're right. Ryan ends up making some money. It's the University of Washington that picks up the handle. They want the WUPHF, or Washington University or something.
Yeah, the domain name is what they end up buying. And another reason I like this episode is because it presents us with one of my favorite Michael moments in the break room. Pam walks in to try to talk to Michael about Ryan and some of his bad decisions in the past.
Hi.
Can't talk, saving the planet.
Oh, we don't recycle.
We don't? Well, why have I been separating the trash into whites and colors?
I'm sure no one asked you to do that.
8 years.
You know, that's how we recycle at my work. They literally separate everything. And that is, I love that they frame it into whites and into colors. That's great.
Yeah, that it's just another shot at Michael's intelligence, but it's just classic.
Speaking of recycling, I recently had to fill out a survey because we are losing money on recycling in the city of Glendale, Arizona. So, like many places, China doesn't want anymore, so it's just filling up.
I just don't understand the whole fucking recycling thing, and we'll have to save it for a different episode because we got to hit on
recycling deep dive.
Yeah, we got to wrap up our favorite episodes with probably the best episode, or at least one of the most important for this season.
Yes,
we failed to mention that Holly returned, but with her return, she just as quickly turns around and has to leave because her parents' failing health.
Parents are clueless. They seem to have some type of Alzheimer's or dementia situation going on, which is awful. Like, having dementia is just the worst. I hope nobody out there has to suffer, and hopefully we'll find the cure.
Yeah, I worked really closely with people like that, so it's rather difficult to watch. And so I understand why she goes back, but Michael is going with her. They're committed.
Would you ever travel across the country for a woman? and go to Colorado? Well, would you ever go from Pennsylvania to Colorado chasing a woman, T?
I think we all know the answer to that question, right?
Only our loyal listeners will know.
Yeah. Right.
Dick Francisco knows what we're talking about.
Oh, I missed Dick. So, wow, the phrasing in that is let's just get into this episode. So I will give a little backdrop. We do see Gabe and Erin break up in the last Dundies episode. Specifically, Erin just savagely dumps him in front of everybody. Even Daryl comments on how cold it is. It's cold. So now Gabe is fearful that Andy is going to try to go back out with her.
Andy's got his own problem, and that's losing all the clients Michael has gifted him as a way to build his confidence.
Yeah, Michael's giving out gifts to everybody, and his gift to Andy is the top 10 clients. And before he can finish giving out everybody's gifts, Andy's already losing clients. But I like Gabe's dialogue over the next couple of episodes, specifically between him and Andy. He's just on a whole different level. And Joe quickly takes notice once she gets back there. But in this episode, after confronting Andy in the bathroom and telling him that he owns over 200 horror movies, he looks at Andy and says, "Yeah, walk away, bitch." And then Jim confronts the camera crew and goes, "Oh, you're filming people in the bathroom now?"
The camera crew is going to get really involved here in future seasons. I think it's 8 or 9, but I think it's 9. They completely break the fourth wall.
Yes, that's correct. So Michael does interact with them a little bit in this episode, though. He does hand back his microphone because he's going back to Colorado. And what we don't understand is how Pam gets through airport security to say goodbye to him.
It's the greatest. We've already touched on the Stanton Strangler, maybe Phyllis and Stanley having an affair. But this one, because this is post 9/11, TSA is clearly there. They have the signs up. And you have to have an airplane ticket to get past security. And she somehow gets beyond and gets to say goodbye to Michael. It's touching, but it's also unrealistic. So 2 thumbs down.
Another touching thing is Michael's letter of recommendation to Dwight. Almost gets him to tears.
I have to write letters of recommendation all the time, and I would never open with that whole definition spiel. But I might plagiarize that and start just giving that out.
It definitely is moving for Dwight, but it doesn't get to me as much as Jim's goodbye to Michael. That in that episode, that might be the even thinking about it right now is getting to me when he tells them that they'll have lunch tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm with that. Michael's idea is actually a great idea because I thought they knew he was having a party. If they were having a big party with all types of cake, they probably would have thought to save the song for the party, but they actually sang it early so that we could enjoy it, of course, as the audience. But again, it's one of those things that's like, okay, maybe that's not realistic either.
Yeah, that's true. Never really put that together. That if they were planning to do that, why would they do it at the Dundies and not the party?
But speaking of Dundies, there's some great moments from the Dundies, right?
The opening to the Dundies episode is my favorite opening. I've been alluding to it for a while. So I think
it's our number 1 nominee for opening.
Stanley flips out on Michael and D'Angelo, tells him that they'll call the police. Jim is still asleep. And Meredith is just walking up her driveway after a night of partying. She's pumped to get a Dundee nomination. And invites them inside for Vienna sausages. And she has napkins.
I have napkins. I have Vienna sausages and I have napkins.
Her door is wide open.
This reminds me of Katrina. Busted! Walk of shame. Here's why I love this tea, because that walk of shame is so fun to incorporate into your daily. If it works, it works. And I had my buddy say it one time when he let me bring a girl over to his house and stay the night. Manny, actually. Maybe I told you a story, but he let a girl come over to his house at a house party and let me stay the night and let her stay the night with me so we could hook up. And we got up early. We were at the pool, and she came out to like join it, just like see what was going on, but like say goodbye. And then after she left, man, he goes, "Man, she sure did do the walk of shame."
Oh, that's good.
And I had never, up until that point, it was like one of the first times I had heard it used in like a sentence, and I was like, "Oh, that's good." Maybe not as good as Michael feeding Kevin broccoli. I don't know.
Put it in your mouth and eat it.
Has Kevin never eaten vegetables? Was that the premise, that he had never?
This was a new food for him. He had eaten some vegetables, but he hadn't eaten any last year. Oh my God. I don't know what moment I like more. That moment or the moment where Dwight has to knead his back because he's being blackmailed for firing the gun in the office.
Almost takes Andy's hearing out.
Kevin also sees the piranha in the toilet that Dwight has to flush again for being blackmailed for firing a gun in the office.
Mm-hmm. Right. A Beaumont gun, which is a girl's gun.
Well, it was supposed to be a conversation starter with Joe. He should have just listened to Kevin the entire time and just put a banana there.
No. He should have listened to Kevin the whole time.
Kevin has a lot of moments in this season that are pretty funny. Another one being when he jumps up to gamble during the garage sale and ends up taking all the money because it's Dallas and they're making their own rules.
Dallas, the TV show, for those who don't know.
Yeah, he was on Dallas. Then he spent an entire week on Hawaii.
We still don't see his teeth. His front teeth.
I'm convinced that you can Google image this. Another favorite moment of mine is when Kevin gets called into Andy's seminar as an alternate, and his hype up song is Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne, and he proceeds to completely exhaust himself while running around the room to get everybody hyped up. And his key to finding success is to picture a winner. And at this point, the picture being painted for us is Kevin Malone on the ground, sweating, puking into a trash can. A far cry from what one might call success. How about you? What are some of your favorite moments from this season?
There is a lip dub in the opening segments to the song Nobody But Me by the Human Beings. Nobody can do the shimmy like I do. Nobody can do the shake. And so, nobody can do the boogaloo. But they're going through the office, and everybody's taking a part in it. Some people don't. Angela refuses. She slams the door when Daryl's trying to talk to Daryl about something. Yeah. Ryan's trying to promote WUPHF.com. It's just one of those funny moments that makes me smile. I think like the next episode is a Sweeney Todd episode, and they do another similar musical opening. And so they get off to a bang, and I really do enjoy that. I think the Sweeney Todd episode actually kind of goes unsung. There's so many good episodes in this season, but that one has a lot of great moments. And I just relate as someone who goes to theater, as someone who supports the arts, and then having someone make noise during a production, like that is such a, you want to yell at that person, but you never want it to be you. And right. I'll never forget, I was in a very small theater at a community college, very intimate setting, no more than 50 people. And I forgot to turn my cell phone off. And I remember it made a slight noise that made me say, oh shit, what if somebody, and you just don't want to be that person.
Never.
That has a coughing fit, that drops a glass bottle as Michael's just drinking wine.
And it rolls all the way to the front. Creed tells him afterwards, be cool, Michael. I just saw this guy kill a bunch of people.
This is referring to the Sweeney Todd guy.
Yeah, right. Creed has a whole slew of moments this season, too.
Well, in that Sweeney Todd episode, he's doing like he's he's doing a review for like the Scranton Times or something.
He is just in fuego this season. He ends up being promoted to manager towards the end just by seniority, right?
Yes.
He rolls in with his Porsche, just tosses the keys off to the side. There's no valet there. Says, keep it running. And then he's doing team building, breaking the whole office up into 2 teams, but he never called a meeting. Body. What does the B stand for? What are we doing? Acronyms. They need a new manager.
Well, this is my favorite Creed moment is he's in the bathroom again. He's always in the women's bathroom.
This is when Gabe confronts Erin and Creed walks out of the stall and Erin's like, hey, Creed. He looks at Gabe and says, not cool, man.
So, yeah.
Erin also shows up Creed when she does a cartwheel. And he flips out and just says, oh, fuck you. Fuck you.
Doing a cartwheel, not easy. Bottom of the Grand Canyon, though, on the sand beach there is where I did an official one. So I was very happy that my friend Maria showed me how to do it. Shout out to Maria for showing me how to cartwheel.
Bravo. I think the fact that Creed is still alive after eating the ice packs in the freezer is astonishing. The blue Slurpee pouches, as he calls them.
Yes, he's talking about the ice packs. Who deciphers that? Jim?
No, Phyllis.
Phyllis figures it out.
So the fact that this man is in charge of anything is ridiculous. So they need to find a new boss, right?
And that opens up the cameo gauntlet. To use that word again.
That's right. That's our word of the episode, I guess. So they bring in a whole slew of people from Will Arnett, who famously voices Lego Batman. To
all things, that's what he's known for.
To Warren Buffett and Ray Romano, Jim Carrey, James Spaeder, and I believe they mention a video entry from England, and in a deleted scene, we get to see Ricky Gervais' interview.
Right. He was also in an opening segment earlier in the season.
That's
him and Michael
right.
Meet at the elevator. So that is my nominee for best cameo is Ricky Gervais, because he is the creator, he's the producer. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have this wonderful show. And then he sneaks himself into season 7. There's a racist Chinese guy.
I was about to say they both share their Chinese impressions.
It's just comedy.
But what's funny in that moment, they also comment how you can't do that type of stuff on TV anymore.
Right.
So,
but that's Ricky. Ricky's always pushing the boundaries, pushing the edges.
Mm-hmm. I would say that he's probably my favorite too. Maybe Jim Carrey, just because I like Jim Carrey so much. I was leaning towards Timothy Olyphant just a little bit after seeing the premiere of The Mandalorian, but you got to give it to Ricky Gervais, right? This is, like you said, his brainchild, and we owe a tip of the hat to him for that.
Ricky, your laugh is infectious, and your comedy is inspiring. I really appreciate you. He's the first podcast I ever listened to, so I'm a big fan of Ricky. He gets my nod.
He gets mine as well. James Spaeder is significant only because he is going to be hired as their new boss, and he ends up becoming the CEO somehow through some clever word of mouth.
He is very intense and very compelling.
It's all about sex. And he's right. Our most popular episode, still the Love Files.
Which we need to do another Love Files.
Don't worry. We're getting everybody ready for it. Remember, we're building the suspense.
I have so much content. so many shitty dates that I've been on in the last couple of weeks.
The erection is huge. Anything else that you wanted to mention from this season?
2 eyes, 2 ears, a chin, a mouth, 10 fingers, 2 nipples, a butt, 2 kneecaps, a penis. I've just described you the Loch Ness Monster. And the reward for its capture? All the riches in Scotland. So I have one question. Why are you here?
Oh my God. I ask myself that every day.
Hey, listen, I've got a 6er automatic for the people on the jukebox. Let's hit the park after sundown. Come on. Pick up some sausage if you want.
Sausage is really big in this season, apparently.
Will Ferrell's character, he inserts himself and he just does a fantastic job. I can't nominate him for best cameo. I mean, we could, but it's just he's so good. He's so good.
Yes, so before James Spaeder gets hired permanently as their boss, D'Angelo Vickers is briefly hired. He is portrayed by Will Ferrell. And after doing a dunk from the foul line, which was poorly edited, he rips down the basketball hoop and suffers some brain damage.
But he gave us so many memorable moments. My friend Paul's is when he just tears into that cake and he just can't stop himself.
Oh, yeah, that's at Michael's going away party that Michael's not at. And then he starts yelling at the cake, and that's when they realize that he's just like Michael. And I think that was the problem, is they wanted to put somebody else in his place, and they wanted to replicate that, but without it being Steve Carell, it just wasn't possible. The only thing that I'd like to point out before we wrap up is they make another reference to steroids, or I guess settling on something being steroids. As you recall, a few seasons back, Michael says that New York is like Scranton on acid. No, speed. No steroids. And in this season, Pam makes a comment about how the place that they're having the Dundies at, breadsticks are like crack. And Ryan says, I love how people who have clearly never done crack say stuff is like crack. And she's like, oh, you're right. I'm a middle-class fraud. And so they end up settling on the breadsticks are on steroids.
I still very much want to try crack. It is on my list of things to do.
Well, if you move up to Oregon, then you might be in luck, right, buddy?
Wow. That's the
war on drugs. Hang on. Hang on. I'd like to congratulate a winner in the war on drugs. It's drugs. Reagan may have won the battle, but drugs won the war.
I blame Nixon. I do really blame Nixon.
They all lost.
Nixon for everything.
They all lost.
If only he knew.
Oh my God.
Only he knew.
So I think that does it for season 7. Unless you have anything else.
I thank you. This was fun. And I'm looking forward to starting season 8.
As am I.
Let's do it again.
As always, you may interact with us on Twitter at CTS Terry, or by searching for the Catch the Sky podcast on Instagram, Facebook, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Be sure to like and share with your friends. Until next episode, keep trying to catch the sky.